Okay, so, who's ready to cry?
Don't forget me.
Don't worry, Homer. You'll always be a part of me.
This is gonna be a heavy one, so buckle up, yo. It's also one I've been wanting to do for a while, so I appreciate you for tuning in. Don't worry though, still got some lulls plugged in here.
Hey there, I got the clover, plus his wedding ring. Sorry ladies, I'm ticking.
I mean, maybe you'll cry, maybe you'll laugh, maybe you'll reminisce, as I do, about those little moments in life that come to define who we are. And for those of you more into my music-based content, you're in for a fucking treat, because music is just as much a part of why cartoons make us cry as the characters, story, etc. And I know, some of you might be thinking, who the f*** cries at cartoons, you fucking nerd? Well, I sure as shit have, and looking at some of the comments while I made this video, evidently a lot of y'all are right there with me.
Are you crying? Am I crying? No, I'm not crying. You're crying. It's okay to cry. People cry.
It's simply amazing how a combination of background music, drawings, and voice acting can drive us to such points of real introspection, drive us to bettering our own real lives, and drive us to real tears. But why? Why cry at a drawing? These people literally don't exist. These characters are made up, and at the core are simply an illusion to us, the audience, for our entertainment. Well, I think to answer that, we ought to consider ending scenes from 3 different cartoons that exemplify humanity to its core, and may or may not jerk a tear or two out of you. That's right, we're talking about the endings from Luck of the Fryrish from Futurama, Brian and Stewie from Family Guy, and Mother Simpson from The Simpsons.
Sonny boy, take a good look at him. That's gonna be you someday.
Now, before you keyboard warriors go apeshit, just know this is not meant to be a top 3 by any stretch of the imagination. Simply put, these are 3 scenes that I think of when I think most emotional and prolific moments in cartoons. And to be perfectly honest, have made me cry and reflect more than I'd like to admit. Starting with my personal favorite of the bunch, Luck of the Fryrish. Now, Futurama is a legendary show in its own right, not just for having some of the funniest moments in any adult cartoon,
Let me just ditch the kids in an alley and we can go have some fun.
but also for moments that just feel real. Case in point, Luck of the Fryrish. The 4th episode of its 3rd season, it delves into deep emotional themes, especially loneliness, isolation, and the personal growth that comes with confronting the past. Of course, it's still wrapped in Futurama's usual cleverness, hilarity, and the trusty old futuristic tropes. The primary focus is on Philip J. Fry's personal journey. He sets out to recover his lucky 7-leaf clover from his life before being frozen in time. Fry's unresolved feelings come through flashbacks to his childhood, using the clover to do amazing things that, in turn, make his older brother Yancey jealous, and lead to their fighting. Their relationship is the classic older brother, little brother archetype. Hella competitive and too prideful to admit how much you love each other. Cut back to the future, Fry finds the clover not only missing from the album, but it's been stolen by Yancey, who changed his name to Philip J. Fry and went on to achieve amazing success in life.
Phil came in, right, strummed out this tune, yeah? And I said, that's a #1 record.
Fry, understandably pissed, goes to dig up the clover from his brother's grave, and here is where it gets heavy.
Since when is he a V?
While digging up his brother, he sees there's more to the epitaph than he previously thought.
Son, I'm naming you Philip J. Fry in honor of my little brother, who I miss every day. I love you, Philip, and I always will.
Here lies Philip J. Fry, named for his uncle, to carry on his spirit.
Turns out, Fry's brother did love him. A lot. He never changed his name. He named his firstborn son after his brother, whom he missed dearly, to honor him. This is where it always hits me the hardest, because it reminds me of my relationship with my older brother, because we fought a lot growing up. I think we get caught up in our own heads, especially when we're young, assuming the worst. The fact is, brothers fight, but there's a bond that simply cannot be replaced, and I think it takes us getting older to realize how special that bond is. We don't see the nuance on the surface. To me, this episode reminds us to hold the ones we love deep down close to us, and let them know. The fact is, we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. What if someone you love disappeared off the face of the earth tomorrow? What do you wish you could have said to them before goodbye? What if you disappeared? Do you think you'd be missed? Yeah, you would. Maybe some of you don't believe it, but I'm telling you, someone would miss you because they love you. Shout out to the bros. And speaking of love, how about them apples? That brings us to our next ending scene of heartwarming glaze. Brian and Stewie from Family Guy.
This is gonna sound really weird, but I really want you to do it, okay? I want you to pierce my ear.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I know. Family Guy's not exactly a show known for its heartfelt moments. A lot of cutaways, a lot of reset button, you know the deal.
Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. Cool Whip. You're eating hair!
Brian and Stewie is the 17th episode of its 8th season, and has become fabled for its zero use of cutaways and the emotional dynamic between, you guessed it, Brian and Stewie.
Hope I'm not bothering you.
Nope.
Just doing some stretching, maybe a few poses.
The heart of the episode is in the levels of vulnerability between Brian and Stewie. They find themselves locked in a safe at the bank for 2 nights and are forced to deal with each other whether they like it or not. They've always been known to have a pretty tight friendship, but in this episode, they're fighting over menial things, like Brian keeping a dead bird in his lockbox and Stewie spending $3 grand on a sweater. So when they're forcibly cooped up with each other, it's tense, and the things that are built up on the inside are forced out.
Everyone leave. I have to poop.
While they're locked up together, Stewie learns Brian keeps a gun in his safe. This is merely brushed off after a few gags, along with a scene where Brian slaps the shit out of Stewie in frustration, Brian eats Stewie's shit out of mercy, and the two get shit-faced on Brian's scotch and he pierces Stewie's ear.
Okay?
Okay, here we go.
Ah! Oh my god!
Eventually the dust settles and we get probably the most emotionally intense ending to any Family Guy episode ever.
Hey, Bri,
Yeah?
how come you have a gun?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? What about all that liberal crap you're always spewing about stricter gun regulations? You're the last person anybody would expect to have a gun.
Well, that's why I keep it here, where it's safe.
That doesn't make any sense. Why have it if you're not going to use it?
I keep it in case I ever want to commit suicide, okay?
But I don't quite understand why you're so unhappy.
What purpose does my life have? Dogs are supposed to be able to instinctively live with purpose, not even to have to think about it, just born like that. You know, I've tried to find meaning in my life, and I just can't.
Brian's vulnerability in admitting something as personal as why he'd contemplate suicide, I think prompts the question to us. How do you find meaning in life? If it seems like no one cares and they'd be fine without you, why keep going?
And that bottle of scotch?
I was saving it for my last drink.
I don't know what to say. Wanting to kill yourself. Well, I think that's pretty selfish of you.
How is that selfish?
What would I do if you weren't here? You're my only friend, Brian. If I didn't have you, I'd be lost.
You'd be okay.
No, I wouldn't. I don't really care for anybody else, just you. You're the only one I like.
Well, thanks.
Sometimes in life, I think that's all you need to know your meaning, is connection. That someone cares, someone needs you. Someone wouldn't be okay if you weren't here.
You give my life purpose. And maybe that's enough. Because that's just about the greatest gift one friend can give another.
Thank you.
Hey.
What?
Will you read to me?
Sure.
Brian and Stewie is a powerful episode simply in its realism. Not just in the moment of epiphany here, but holistically. When you're alone with one person for 48 hours straight, no breaks, you get to know each other pretty damn well. Better than you thought you ever would. And what comes with that is a bond that seemingly never separates you from each other. You'll always remember those little moments of fellowship, excitement, frustration, embarrassment, and ultimately, connection. Because deep down in the depths of your heart and memories, you'll always have that time together. Maybe it's those moments that help us understand who we really are. And maybe that connection is what keeps us going.
Now let me crawl inside you. Ooh, cold, so cold.
On the other hand, saying goodbye to someone who gives our life purpose is one of the hardest things to do. Whether it's saying goodbye through death or for reasons we can't understand. Case in point, Mother Simpson.
Oh, Mom, I'm sorry I never come to see you. I'm just not a cemetery person. You're lying. Walt Whitman! Ah! Damn you, Walt Whitman! I hate you, Walt freaking Whitman!
Hailed as one of the most memorable and emotionally impactful episodes in Simpsons history, it's all about Homer's journey as he comes to terms with feelings of loss, abandonment, redemption, reconciliation, and ultimately introspection. He reunites with his mother, Mona, whom he always believed abandoned him and died 26 years prior. His reaction upon seeing her and having her back in his life is a mix of surprise, confusion, joy, and betrayal. He'd spent years and years of his life angry and confused, thinking his mother's abandonment was a personal betrayal. He finally confronts Mona for the truth, and we find out that she in fact was involved in protesting corporate corruption and defending her values. Her decision to abandon Homer, however painful, was made out of a sense of duty to protect him from the government and the authorities who were after her. Upon learning the truth, Homer quickly goes from feeling resentful to understanding. The emotional arc he undergoes, from confusion to forgiveness, is relatable for anyone who's dealt with lingering emotional wounds. Many people have feelings of regret, missed opportunities, or unresolved issues with family members, especially parents. And unfortunately for Homer, he's forced to resolve any lingering wounds by the end of the episode, as Mona disappears from his life again, evading authorities to protect her son.
Oh, Homer. Remember, whatever happens, you have a mother, and she's truly proud of you.
Homer finally realizes that his mother's love for him was never in question. He's finally forgiven her for leaving, and after waving goodbye one more time, he sits on his car and looks up at the stars. You know, every time I watch this ending, I try to imagine all the things going through Homer's mind. He's thinking about life, about meaning, about time. So why do cartoons make us cry? Because moments like these are real. They have the power to make us explore the deepest depths of our hearts and help us understand what it means to be alive. After all, what is film but a means to demonstrate how special it is to be human?